So, this is the long-awaited homeschool update video. I have not made one of these in over a year. I think the last one I did was saying goodbye to Charlotte Mason video. I'll try to link that above. Because before I shared all of these type of videos, I was sharing Charlotte Mason. And I really do love the essence of Charlotte Mason. And I think if circumstances were different, I would put all of my energy into homeschooling in a Charlotte Mason way. But I am a very busy mom, and I wake up early and I work and I go to bed as late as I just end up in bed late, whether or not I really want to. And I have 3 or 4 side jobs. Oh, if you haven't seen any of my other videos, I'm actually working. I'm still working. And a lot of it just is our circumstances right now. My husband is in school, and our schedule just is a little chaotic. So with him being in school, that means part-time work, and with the part-time work, that covers everything but groceries. Pretty much at the end of the day, we have enough money for everything but groceries. And so I have taken in babysitting. I have taken in side jobs because babysitting is so dependent on so many things. And in a sense, side jobs are too. Online jobs. But I really just look for ways that there is something to fall back on if one drops in the other, and so I'm not scrambling. But that does play a part in our homeschool. Last year, 2021 to 2022, so that year, my daughter entered her high school year. Now, this is not my first year teaching high school. I have been involved in 2 other students' high school education. And I will say this about high school education: it's not a one-size-fits-all type of thing. I have a daughter that was interested very much in going into the medical field. And in a certain sense, she still would like to do that, just not necessarily the way that she'd originally thought. But she still would like to be a medical student of some kind, whether it be midwifery, whether it be maybe a more natural path type of way, or just some other things that have been thrown out there. And with that in mind, I knew that a college education was going to be necessary. A lot of harder type of learning. That's not really the right way, but a more structured type of learning. Maybe that's a better way to say it. And things that would involve heavy reading, lots of papers, and lots of college classes that would need to kind of almost that you would not cram yourself in, but kind of cram yourself in. So with that in mind, I tailored her high school year a little bit differently than I did some of my other students. Another student of mine, my youngest sister, whom I had overseen her education, she wanted to do either some kind of art, programming, cartooning, directing, something like that. She wanted kind of in the filming industry, artistic style, and I kind of tailored her high school in that way. But, and I have one more student, and then my other student, he just wants to be done. And all three of those students, there was an essence of where they were heading in that, and there was an essence of what I expected of them in terms of adulthood. So my high school education, or in teaching them, has been, okay, I have a daughter that wants to be a medical student, I'm going to tailor the curriculum for that. This other student really has no ambition other than to ride his motorcycle, dirt bike, till his dying day. That is his ambition in life. And then a third student that would like to just enjoy life, to live it and hopefully make some money doing what she loves, which is artistic pursuits and filming in some way. And so the basic education went to kind of tailor that. The majority of the education, however, was to see them as young adults going into an adult world, and realizing that a lot of that involves just knowing how to learn, for lack of a better way to explain it. And the requirements for all three was things like citizenship, what I'm going to call citizenship, and that is the books like the Uncle Eric books. And my husband has some other books that he wants our kids to do before they graduate. The theme is freedom is one. Books on using technology wisely is another. And 10 books every conservative should read, and 5 that are worth noting, 10 books that screwed up the world, and 5 are worth noting, something like that. Like, he has a list that our kids will have to read and complete, but that's not something that I require all of my students to read and complete. So, in just doing the 8 minutes trying to explain just high school. So my daughter loves the challenge that Ambleside Online gives. Ambleside Online gives some deep thinking books, maybe not necessarily books that she likes or enjoys or is dry, but a challenge for her to read and try to not figure out, but absorb the information in a way that she can then tell others in a way that would be understandable. And so she really loves Ambleside Online and is thriving in that. There's been a few books that I've changed or maybe have required her to read before, maybe an Ambleside Online recommendation. The other thing with Ambleside Online is that we tend to take maybe the 2 years where she's at and maybe a year behind, or where she's at and maybe a year ahead, and work with the books in so much as what fits her needs and what I think is worth pursuing, for lack of a better word. So we've done Ambleside Online for her. My second born is not school driven at all. He is very much I want to be a backwoods woodsman. I just want to build my own tiny house, live on my own property, hunt all day, fish all day, and work in construction somehow, some way. That's what I want to do. Just leave me alone. I don't need any book learning. I read Bear Grylls, kind of an attitude. And if you were to sit him down and kind of test him, for lack of a better word, I know that's what everybody does today for the schools. If you were to test him and see exactly where he was, he would fall behind. And I take full responsibility for that, which is kind of hard to admit, because one of the reasons why he is behind is because, for me, I want him to learn to be responsible. I can get him up every morning, hold his hand, drag him by the ear, sit him at the table, sit right beside him, and make him do that lesson. Make him learn that grammar. Make him read that book. I can do that. I have done that. I've done that for 3 years. And I need him to wake up and realize, if this needs to be your maturing walk. You need to be the one that says, I need to get up and do this. I need to do what is right. And it's very exhausting. It's very exhausting. And I have cut back. So that's where Charlotte Mason just kind of went off the rails. It's like, this is not going to work in our situation. And it took a much more minimalistic approach. And what that ended up looking like was math, grammar, writing, reading. Get those done. And honestly, it wasn't until maybe 6 months ago that he overheard me talking to somebody, and I said, well, if I have a son that's not graduated at 22, then I have a son that's not graduated at 22. I'm not just going to graduate him at 18 if he hasn't done the work. And he looked at me like, what? Like, yeah, if you don't get the work done, you're not going to graduate. And that almost lit a fire under him. That was the same week that he learned that our local high school here offers fireman training lessons, that basically you take the course throughout high school and you can graduate with the knowledge to be a fireman under your belt, kind of go into fireman training. And that has been his dream since he was 3, was to be a fireman. That is still his dream. That also lit a fire under him, because he is under the impression, and I let him be that, that his grades have to be kept up in order to be a part of that program, because it is an additional program. And like I said, he was under that assumption, and I've let him be under that assumption. And that lit a fire under his boots, for lack of a better word. And over time, talking with other men, and men that he has respected and admired, and kind of seeing how they treat education, that has been a big help. Boosted his confidence, I think, in doing what needed to be done and doing it. And he went from being behind, and now he's probably about where he should be, with the exception of writing. My almost 10-year-old, let's see if it's easier to say. My almost 10-year-old, once he saw the fire lit under his brother, he kind of started taking the reins and kind of stepping up and being more responsible and things like that. Those two have always been 2 peas in a pod. My 13-year-old and my almost 10-year-old. They have been like this. And he looks up to his older brother so much. So that lit the fire under him. The next one in line, my daughter, who's 8, kind of had a rough year physically. Just everything with her heart. We had a whole year of that. And then this last year where she was in great recovery, I think it was her year of just making up for the years, at least 2 years, of just being afraid to do a lot of things. Being afraid to play, being afraid to do a lot of things because it would just send her heart racing. And she really thrived last year. So we didn't do much outside of math, reading. I would say about 5 months ago is when we picked up grammar again. But a lot of just math and reading with her. And just allowing her to be a kid again. And then this year, so 2022, January 2022, it was my year to kind of start a new school year. I realized just how burnt out from homeschooling I am. There's a lot on my plate of being a mom. I'm not a single parent, but it can feel like I am sometimes. I've often wondered what it would be like for military families with one parent in the home trying to do it all. Because I'm like, is this what it's like? And I know it's not. But sometimes you just feel like you're there. You're doing it alone. And you're not alone, but you can't lean on that other person. So at the end of the day, it's just exhausting. And I'm burnt out. And I have driven so many times to the school and being like, okay, I'm done. But I watched the school kids. My kids aren't learning that my kids would not learn any more at the school than they are at home. For truth. It may seem arrogant to say, but that's just a casual observant talking with parents with the schools, parents that send their kids to schools, talking with the school kids, talking with the teachers. And so it's just one foot in front of the other. So the last few months have been better. It's not what we've done. And a lot of that is just moving up here. We didn't have our routine that we always had. We didn't have 9 o'clock, 2 students show up, let's get going. We have 7:30 in the morning, I'm up with a kid. I'm the only one up with the kid that got dropped off while mother goes to work. And yeah. So trying to put together one more routine, one more thing, is just like adding another rock to the load in my mind. Realistically, it needs to happen, but mentally it's just one more rock. So right now we've got checklists, and if you've known me for any amount of time, you know that I hate checklist learning. Did you do your math? Okay. Did I check it? Okay. Done. There is no connection. There is no love of learning here. It's just check. Done. What we have enjoyed doing is learning about gardening, learning about our area, learning about how to flip items. That's been something new that we've all been kind of seeing and enjoying and learning a little bit more, finding things that are worthwhile, learning to crochet, learning to make new recipes, learning how to be nutritious when you're wanting to work out. My one son wanted to start working out, get into shape for being a fireman. He learned a lot about nutrition. So that's kind of what our homeschool's been like. And that pretty much is the update that I can give you at this point. And each day or each week looks a little different, and I can sit here, beat myself up, but that doesn't change anything. What does change is my heart attitude about it, and trust me, I am daily at prayer and more with the Lord, and it's a huge heart burden. I'll use that word. It's a huge heart burden that's on me, because I know that this is my responsibility. This is my job. I just have to figure out how to balance it with everything else. And that's kind of where I'm trying to figure life out. So I know come fall, like I said, I won't really have the babysitting that I have now. Or I don't know if I said that in this video. That might have been, I'm batch filming. But this fall I know I won't have the kids that I normally have, because they will be in school. With that in mind, our schooling will probably look a little bit more textbook, workbook type of thing until that routine groove is built up. And then we'll just kind of work it from there. So probably not the homeschool update y'all were thinking we're going to get. It's really more of a survival mode homeschool. Do the bare minimum that we need to get done, and do what we can to be a family, work together as family, grow stronger as a family, and all of that. So until the next video, I have some resources that I would like to share with you that we have enjoyed. But until then, I'll see you in the next video.